Edwards on the drive, goes inside the turn him over again. Booker scoops it up. Booker brings the boom.
That's right. We're bringing the boom. We're talking NBA on a Monday, and we have a weekend of NBA trades, of course. De'Aaron Fox now on the Spurs. Luka, the big trade, obviously, going over to the Lakers. Our guy Glock is really, really sad. I'll tell you that right now. He is not happy about it. So go make fun of him in the Discord chat if you are. But AP, I know you like the Mavs too, so I'm sure you're a little sad about it as well. But what'd you think of all the crazy trade stuff this weekend?
No, I mean, the thing that's awesome about the NBA is I don't really have a team. Like, it's not like a Chiefs, Royals. You know, obviously I'm a Chiefs and Royals homer. And when it comes to the NBA, I don't have a team. I just love watching ball. It's probably the sport I watch the most out of all the sports. And follow a lot of these teams. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I have no idea how you make that trade if you're the Mavs. I still don't understand it. I thought our guy Big T had the tweet of the year. Like, just perfectly well done. Like, perfectly well executed tweet. If you haven't seen it, go to Big T's Twitter and look it up. But man, like that, it's probably how the phone calls went. And the Lakers just absolutely gifted generational talent. I mean, what, a top 3, top 4 player in the league? Like, if you're building a program right now, I mean, he's like one of the 3 guys that I would be building around. So shout out to Lakers fans. Absolutely gifted a Jim and Luka Doncic. And we'll see what happens with the Mavs.
Yeah, I mean, if you're building a team, like you said, it's probably Wemby 1, like Luka or SGA 2 or 3, right? Like, that's kind of, I think, the list. I could be forgetting something.
Yeah, there's probably 5. Like, there's definitely probably 5.
Maybe you put Jokic before them.
I still got Jokic 1. I can't go Wemby yet. Jokic is proven, and I don't want to get Big T too excited. But I mean, Jokic is incredible, man.
I would take Wemby because you're getting like double the career of probably Jokic. Actually, I don't know. I have to look at the math on how much more you're getting of Jokic.
No guaranteed health.
That is true. You are getting guaranteed health.
Who do you trust the health of more? I bet you trust Jokic's health more.
I do, but I get like 8 more years of him. That's all I'm saying. Like,
once it goes south for the bigs, it goes south. Which, I mean, it could happen to Jokic too.
That's what I'm saying. It could go south for Jokic.
He's built different though, where it's going to be harder for him to go down.
I agree. This isn't me trying to slander Jokic. I like Jokic, so I'm definitely a big fan. But yeah, let's go to Big Viral 44. Big T obviously had a good tweet. It was funny. Everyone loved it. What do you think of the trade? Because I think the Lakers won. I think the main thought process behind everything was I just think they value AD. Like, I think they like AD. I think they think he's like going to help them win now, and they're going to win a title. But I don't know, Big T. What do you think?
Yeah, they clearly value him for sure. I mean, that tweet was insane. The thing, my phone is still vibrating. It hasn't stopped. Like, it's still, every time I like open Twitter, you have to like go to the side. Like, I don't know how those athletes do it where you can't follow the notifications. There's too many of them where if people respond to like a normal tweet, you can't even see it. Like, you don't even know how you won't see it. There's too many messages. It just never stops. I thought it would like cool off today, but I think people didn't see it over the weekend. The ones that like don't get on Twitter or something, it just keeps going. And people were like posting it on Instagram too and stuff. And it was definitely crazy, but I don't know how you could see it any other way than the Lakers killing them. I get why they did it the way they did it. It makes sense in my head, like, because once you get out that you're shopping Luka, everyone's going to go crazy and you're going to get all the backlash and the different stuff that happens, and you'll probably get less than you got. And he wanted AD, and Kid probably wanted AD too, and they kept it super quiet. So that part of it was super smart, but the problem is you just don't trade top 5 players at 25 years old. I mean, 5 straight first team All NBAs, coming off the finals. I mean, and you're trading him for AD, who's what, 7 or 8 years older, a big compared to like a guard that can take over. AD's proven he can't take over either. I don't see it any other way. I mean, it's got to be 90-10 of people think that it was a landslide deal, and it bridges the gap after LeBron on top of it, which they didn't have that. Are they better? Like who's better today from the trade? I mean, maybe you could argue Dallas is like better today, but long term and maybe even current term, because now Luka's going to get pissed too. Luka's might even get in shape because he's mad that they actually traded him, and all that's going to go his way. I couldn't believe it, honestly. And it happened so late that was one of the reasons the tweet popped off, because so many people didn't see it till the morning. And by the time it hit the algo, there wasn't any other tweets in the algo, and it just shot off. I literally couldn't even believe it when I saw it.
Yeah. I mean, also it was it was around like the biggest news. That helps too, right? It wasn't just like a random tweet. It was around news that everyone's searching and looking up. Also, I don't know if you know this, the Lakers, Big T, we play the NBA playoff standings. Do you know where the Lakers are in the West? What are they?
I know they've been playing good. I know I would assume they're about middle of the pack, 4th, 5th.
Yeah, they're the 5 seed. So
they've been playing better, though. I'm assuming they've moved up the last stretch.
Yeah, so they're the 5 seed. So, I mean, dude, don't look
down. Dallas, I haven't looked at the standings. I'm assuming Dallas has been bad because they haven't been winning. So I'm assuming they're worse than the Lakers.
Yeah, they are 26-24, and they're the 9 seed right now. So, yeah, they'll figure it out, though. We'll see if they can make it that.
I'm just convinced on Dallas. Like, I know people think that it just fits. You're going to play multiple bigs again. Like, you already have bigs. You're going to trade for another big, and you're going to lose a guard playmaker. I'm not as convinced as other people that, like, it's that good of a move. You're relying more on Spencer Dinwiddie, and I don't like double big lineups, but AD's got to be happy because he didn't want to ever play center. So I'm sure he's happy. He's got some big bodies in there with him.
Yeah, I'm sure he's happy about that. He's been wanting to play that 4 forever. So, hey, here's your wish. We'll see if he can dominate, and we'll see how it goes for him. Yeah. What do you guys think of the Fox trade? We'll talk about that too. I've always thought Fox to the Spurs was like an amazing fit. Like from day one, I wanted Fox to get out of there. When they did the Fox or Halliburton, who do you think is better? I think Fox is better than Halliburton. I've thought that. I don't know if I feel like I'm right now, but I'm sure it's going to help playing with Wemby. So I'm curious to see, AP, were you a fan of the Fox trade over to San Antonio?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think right now they got to make another move or something. The lineup's kind of weird. Like, what do you do with Chris Paul? I like Steven Castle, Devin Vassell. I think really good pieces. Shohan, Harry Barnes has been playing better too. So, I mean, yeah, it's just the awkward piece is like, what do you do with Chris Paul? Maybe he's like the second unit guy. I don't know. I don't know if he would like be open to a role like that. So I think it's a good move though. So, someone to help create around Wemby and then the Kings. I mean, man, you just mid-range central hot dude. The King, who knows what the Kings are doing? I don't know. Do you guys like it for the Kings?
No,
like
the
you
Kings
got Rosen and
just Zach LaVine is such an empty bucket, but he doesn't do anything for that team. But we'll see. I saw him and DDR were excited to be reunited because they had such glory days with the Chicago Bulls. But Big T, you like the Fox and Wemby stuff. You were saying it was to the moon, so it sounds like you're in agreement with us.
Yeah, their styles are perfect. They match up perfect. The roll to the hoop, the kicks. I mean, everything lines up perfect. And yeah, I think Chris Paul just moves to the bench and gives Fox a little bit of leadership. I mean, it's not going to be a perfect trade like right this second, but Wemby's not a finished product right now either. Like, you're building for the next couple years down the road. This isn't their window right now. So I like it because play around with it a little this year, see what you got, see if any of those other guys kind of pan out with them, and then work around it. And yeah, make some other moves. And for the future, though, they're the next phase. Like you guys said, starting Jokic is clearly the best player right now. But 2 years from now, I think it could be different. And it could be Fox is a big piece of that, too, that can make Wemby better. Because, I mean, Chris Paul made Wemby better. Fox is like a younger, better version of Chris Paul. So I think it's going to work out great.
Yeah, people forget. I know it was when the Warriors were kind of in that start of the decline, but if De'Aaron Fox didn't break his hand or whatever he did, he break his finger during that one game, they could have easily upset them and went on to the next round. And who knows what kind of run they make. So they had a nice little team there, but it didn't end up working out. We do have a lot of news to talk about, a lot in the NBA today. It's a long slate, at least I know on FanDuel, on DK. Let me pull it up right now to make sure I got it in front of me. We got they got all the games except all the way up till 9 o'clock Eastern. So got a lot of the games today to talk about. We'll break it down. A lot of news too. AP, you're on the playbook today, which that's been a lot of fun as you were talking to me pre-show. Why don't you give like a quick little overview for the people since you've dove kind of deep into this slate already?
Yeah, I mean it's changed like 3 times. I mean that's the NBA right now. We're not surprised by any of this. Like news is constantly coming in and it constantly changes the slate. The biggest pieces, obviously, the Bucks and God, I would love to see healthy Milwaukee against OKC, but we can't ever get that in today's NBA until the playoffs. But it looks like Dame just got ruled out. Hold on one second. I had this Apple update, and now my screens are all messed up. Yeah, so Giannis out, Dame out, Middleton out, Brook Lopez questionable. He's going to get ruled out. Bobby Portis is not going to play, so we're kind of waiting on that starting lineup. And then OKC, they're resting a bunch of players. So there's going to be infinite value on this slate, which does make it kind of interesting if we can get an idea of what the best value is going to be. It's going to allow us to go the stud and dud route. Obviously, for me, it makes Jokic a priority spend and a really, really good matchup. And, so a ton of news on this slate. There's going to be a ton of value, and it's going to be interesting trying to find the right value pieces, mix and match with the right studs.
Yep. We'll dive in. We'll talk about the slate. News just came through. Hawkins available. Theis ruled out. I'll give you the other injury report stuff that we are waiting on. We're waiting on Jordan Poole questionable, which it does matter. I hope he plays. I don't want to play Wizards that much, but they are playing the Charlotte Hornets. So you got to consider him. We'll talk about that. Şengün, he is questionable. That's a big piece of news. Brook Lopez, he is still questionable, I believe. Yeah, him and Bobby Portis, doubtful. I'm assuming Bobby misses. Brook Lopez, who even knows? Even if he plays, I doubt they're going to play him as many minutes. And it's just going to be one of those throwaway games where they play a bunch of their young guys. Brandon Clark and John Morant, they're both questionable. We got Marcus Smart, Vince Williams, doubtful. See, De'Aaron Fox has a doubtful tag. I doubt he's playing with the Spurs today. Wemby, he is questionable. And Edwards, he's questionable along with Naz Reid. I think some of the speculation is Ant will play. Miles Turner, he is questionable. I assume he misses because they are clearly trying to trade him by the deadline. They don't want to pay him the $30 million next year. So because of that, I think they just sit him until they figure out what they're doing with him. So I think he misses today. That'll obviously open up some value. And then, of course, for Portland, Duop Reed, Rupert, Walker, Robert Williams, they are all questionable. And then Jalen Suggs, he is doubtful. So that's all the news. Let's dive in and let's talk about the games. First one up, it's a doozy. It's Washington and Charlotte. Tough game because I'll tell you this. I don't really want to play Washington as of late. I've kind of came to the conclusion, if it's a big enough slate, I'm going to do my best to avoid them, especially if they're healthy, right? And by healthy, I mean Jordan Poole, Kuzma, and Valanciunas are all in, right? They go deep enough on their bench where they got Coulibaly, Brogdon, Kispert, George, Carrington, where if it's a good slate, I can avoid it, right? It seems pretty easy. If Jordan Poole misses, that would make it a little tougher because I think Coulibaly would really jump up as a good play at 5.3K. I think Brogdon at 5.2. He'd be a strong play. And I wouldn't ignore Valanciunas at 5.8K because, hey, it's big man against Charlotte. Anytime there's a big man against Charlotte, we want to consider them. Maybe some of the data's changed a little bit with Mark Williams now fully starting, and it's just like his job for like the long haul now. But ultimately, we know Valanciunas, if you look at a projection system, he's going to grade out well because of his fantasy point per minute. And then we have Kuzma at 6.2K, which if you're just talking ceilings, I mean, it's there, but it hasn't been there this season. That's the problem. So I'm going to do my best to stay away from Kyle Kuzma. If it's up to me, I need this Jordan Poole news, though. If he's out, I'll like Coulibaly, Brogdon, and Valanciunas. Those probably be my top three guys. AP, I'll go to you next to break it down. Obviously, tough without the Poole news, but what's some of your thoughts?
Yeah, Poole midday downgrade with an illness, I believe. Man, the Wizards are so bad. I've honestly been like Xing them out when I can, just so that I don't get any of them. And that's been a much better path for me. I will say, like for centers, it's a great matchup against the Hornets, but like Joval, he's been I like when's this guy actually paid off when he's been mega chalk? Like I don't think he ever has. I mean, he was what 55, 60% on the other night and just absolutely busted. Played 30 minutes in a tough matchup against Gobert. Gobert's actually been pretty tough on opposing centers. He got us 30. So, like, again, Joval likely going to be chalk, but I'm telling you, there's going to be infinite value on the slate. I already want Jokic at that center spot. So that means if I go Joval, like I'm forcing in double center, which, again, it might be a fine path, but if I could get off any chalk piece, Joval is going to be a piece, a projected chalk piece that I'm fine getting off. And yeah, Poole, I can't get there. Kuzma's been terrible. It's actually been a tough matchup too for power forwards against this Hornets team. And Bilal Coulibaly, I kind of liked him a little bit, but it's way tougher to play him now. We have so many really strong mid-range plays. Aaron Wiggins, we'll talk about him later on. Devin Vassell, like it's hard to play a Coulibaly over any of those guys. So likely off the Wizards here, and I want to fade the Hornets, but playing players against this Wizards team has been very profitable. I think Miles Bridges, like, look, there's going to be tons of value. Paying $9K for him, I think is going to be perfectly fine. Like, he could get us 50, 55 in this matchup. Same with Mark Williams. So I have more interest in the Hornets side than I do the Wizards side. It's been such a smash matchup to play teams against. And the other like spot we're going to talk a lot about is the Nuggets, because the Pelicans, the other team that just has been a printer playing players against them. So sign me up for a few of these Hornets pieces. Miles Bridges, Mark Williams, I think is fine. I liked Nick Smith, but again, he's in that range where it's tougher to play with some of the other plays that we have on the slate.
Yeah, it's one of those slates where we got to look at it, and there might be some guys that on like a normal 5-6 gamer that would be good values, but on this slate they're just not. So yeah, that's definitely something for sure here that we got to adjust to. Matthew's birthday today. He's going to try to sip 100K, so happy birthday, Matthew. Hopefully you can take it down. Big T, let's go to you next. Let's talk about the Washington Wizards and the Charlotte Hornets. I'm curious if you're going to get exposure to these guys because, listen, it's a big slate. There's also news to come, right? What if Wemby sits? If Ant sits? Like, there's all these different options where you might lock into some plays that other people lock into, and these plays are Charlotte Hornets and Washington Wizards, which are not the greatest chalk places to go to.
Yeah, it's tough, and it's a slate where I always like these slates because you got guys that there's just no way I'm fading, like Ryan Rollins when we get. If you got guys that are 3K that are just stone cold locks, I mean, for me personally, there's no way around it. Like, you're gonna play the big dogs, and on a slate like this, you actually have big dogs too. Jokic, like you guys are talking about, and then you got SGA, Wemby. Like you said, Wemby's questionable; he could miss. But even so, even if he doesn't, you still got SGA, Jokic, Cade Cunningham, Ant's questionable too, Sabonis. There's so many studs that there's just no way around it. I don't see, and you already said it too with the Nuggets versus the Pelicans, how a bunch of a printer it is. So for me, I just can't imagine going to mid-range guys. I think you guys were all over it. I already don't want to play Joval. I said it the last show I was on with Travis on Friday or Thursday, whatever day it was. I'd still play Rashawn Holmes over him at 3,100, half the price. He gets 18 minutes compared to Joval's high 20s. I'll just take my chances with Rashawn Holmes at 3,100. I just don't want to play Joval at 6K, 5,800, whatever he is. I just can't do it. I'm not playing Jordan Poole. I'm not playing Kuzma. I do agree that those mid-range guys like Coulibaly, Brogdon, I mean, those guys would be in play on a normal slate. I mean, I'm just not going there. There's no reason to do it. We have clear-cut value, and we might get more clear-cut value if other guys get ruled out, like you're saying. So I mean, for sure, I'm always playing Jokic, especially in this spot. And you have other studs, so I just don't see it. And the Charlotte side's a little more open just because, Bridges and Mark Williams both have a ton. Mark Williams has been so good since he started getting that boost. I know he was banged up for a minute, but he's been crushing in the time he gets. And the rest of this team, you're not playing these guys. So you're spending or nothing in this game, at least for me. But Bridges is a pretty sneaky play, too. I don't think he's going to get any ownership because he's 9K. But you know what a 9K low-owned guy does? He wins you this slate when he goes off because you can fit him in there. So I like Miles Bridges a decent amount. What's he going to be? 5% owned? 3% owned? Maybe it goes up a little just because of all the value where people naturally get it. But he's not going to be high owned. So I actually like Bridges a lot the more I think about roster construction.
Yeah, he won't be owned at all. If the game stays close, he'll definitely play good. I did pull up the flow chart just to look, and AP's got Valanciunas, you got the nuts, and Mark Williams is very tasty, and then your guy Jokic is third, Big T. So a lot of good center plays today. We'll obviously talk about as we go through the slate.
The flow chart for hoops should always just have Jokic at the top line, no matter who he plays.
That is true.
Nice Kevin has a question. AP, is that an NBA Top Shot on your shelf? And I'm looking.
It does look like it with the glare.
Yeah, what is happening?
Top Shot.
What is that on your shelf up there? It's like
it's
moving?
a picture with the glare.
Oh, it's a picture, and then you can see I got NBA playing over here, like NBA, whatever the channel is.
Okay.
You're seeing the reflection there.
It
would be better if it was an NBA Top Shot.
That's a great comment, though.
Oh, that was a good one. I knew it wasn't asking about me, so I figured it was you. Yeah, I honestly thought it was like I don't know. It looked like a Top Shot. It's crazy. But
what's this picture you have behind you?
That one?
We got one, not up yet, but what is it?
That's Pierce and Kobe.
We need an odds board on when Mangone. He's over a month in his new place. He doesn't have a single thing hung up on any wall in his house. Probably has no plates or cups in the cupboard.
No, I have plates, but I don't have the silverware. This is why.
No silverware. Oh my God. I didn't even know this part. No silverware?
So get this.
Oh my God.
I went to Chipotle one day and I just grabbed a stack of like forks and knives.
You tell me you got plastic forks in your main kitchen silverware. Oh.
I'm using them up right now. I'm waiting until they're gone. I just loaded a bunch in a bag and left. That's how I rolled. So.
I thought the mattress and the sleeping bags on the ground was bad. You're using plastic forks?
Yeah, right now, yeah.
We need a tour at some point.
Oh, I want
the
to
bed on the
right
ground.
TV camera move? Cribs, like MTV Cribs back in the day. We need it.
Should take a picture and put it in the Discord chat. If you sign up, you get to see.
Oh my God, you got plastic forks in your.
Actually, Taco. I actually made a steak one day and then used the crappy. So it was difficult. It was a bad move. I regret every second of it. But it was. I took a shot. No pussy starter kid. That's actually really funny.
Oh, dying.
Yeah, I order things like one or two things each day, and then we'll slowly get everything. That's how it goes.
The first thing on any agenda, I thought it was a TV, but if it's not a TV, it needs to be a fork, like at least one metal or whatever material fork.
Yeah, I do have this. I do have the plates and bowls and everything. I got that. So I got some stuff. But.
You got me. It needs a woman's touch. Oh my God.
Oh, that's too good. Chat's on fire. We're only one game through. We got to keep moving this thing along. You can keep putting your funny comments as I tell you more crazy things about my living situation right now. But let's get to Mr. Okongwu, Big T. Okongwu against the Pistons. We got Detroit and Atlanta. Pretty good game, I'd say, for fantasy. Some of the pricing, right? Cade Cunningham is 10-3. That's pretty pricey, as I pretty much say every single day. But he continues to be pretty good. And if we have all this value on the slate, he has to be in play. So I do think that Cade Cunningham, definitely a solid spend. I have not been playing Trae Young a lot of this season. I know we had a monster game against Indy. I don't even know if I must have just missed that one. Maybe it was a day game or something like that on Saturday.
It was the all-star snub game. It was a day slate.
That was on Saturday, right? Yeah, the All-Star snub wasn't that against Cleveland?
No, it was this game. It was that last game that he had.
Oh, okay.
That's the only reason I played him because it was that narrative.
Was that an early slate?
Yeah, it was an early 2 or 3 gamer.
Okay, good. That's why I missed it, so that's perfectly fine. But I don't know. I don't see myself spending on him here. Okongwu, I still like the price at 6.6. I don't think he's too bad of a play. You can play a lot of these Pistons against the Atlanta Hawks, right? I think it's Tobias Harris at 5.8K. He makes a lot of sense as a nice play. I know he had a pretty good game the other day. Jalen Duren, he has flashed a ton of upside. AP, you've talked about his minutes not being super secure. Isaiah Stewart, he's definitely someone that hasn't been in, but now he's back. But I think Duren's minutes are still safe for those 30 minutes. AP, I'll let you talk about it, though. There's got to be some plays in an Atlanta and Detroit Pistons game that we have to get exposure to.
On any other slate, so here's the thing with Jalen Duren. You're going to tilt your face off at his rotation.
The dynamics of this show is my favorite show I've ever been on. The chat's making fun of Mangone for Poon. AP's jerking at Cade Cunningham assist ratios, and I'm just sitting here laughing at the whole aspect of they're talking about Mangone getting Poon on the ground. I mean, I literally can't comprehend what's happening on this show. Chat is on fire.
What? Wait, what did I say about Cade Cunningham?
You were dialed in on the Pistons when the chat is just all over, man. I can't even keep a straight face, and you're dialed in.
I got too many screens up.
The chat is all over my man here, and I literally can't keep a straight face. They're on fire.
I was trying to pull a Snyder. Do you remember that video where Snyder had someone working on his kitchen?
Yeah.
Jackhammer behind him, and he did not skip a beat. He just talked right through it.
That is still one of my favorite ones, favorite videos.
You guys even called him out, and he stops for a second, and then he just goes right back into it with the jackhammer behind him. I was trying to do my best Snyder impression. But what I was saying,
if I was the chat, I'd play AP's core tonight. By the way, you better get on that ship. He is dialed. He is shipping tonight.
So any other slate, I'm having interest in Jalen Duren. He's looked really good, but this his rotation on this Pistons team is so bad. I don't understand what they're doing with Asar Thompson. Jalen Duren will randomly play 25 minutes sometimes. Yes, he's been playing 30 more, but mind you, Isaiah Stewart constantly getting himself into trouble. He's back now. I can't do it. Outside of MME 150 formats, I would have him in my pool. But again, we're going to be there's going to be infinite value on the slate, which has my lineups are coming preloaded with Jokic tonight, and I'm going to make it a really easy slate. And so large field tournaments, I think you can go to Jalen Duren. The thing about Cade Cunningham, it was the slate this weekend with SGA. I think he only got us 55, which again is awesome. But from our studs, kind of Jokic has elevated everything, and now the expectation is we need 65 plus from our studs, and you didn't need that. I think it was the Saturday slate when a bunch of mid-range plays went off. SGA was on the winner of the flagship contest with a 53 piece or something like that. So what I'm getting at is Cade Cunningham is almost like a lock to get you 50 plus tonight. He's put up that number, I think 7 of the last 8 games. He's been really good. I'm going to keep him in my pool. There's going to be infinite value tonight. We may be able to get the Cade Cunningham and Jokic type of lineups. And with what Milwaukee's doing by resting everyone, I don't know if I want to play SGA in that game. I think it's going to be a game where they just let their scrubs, Aaron Wiggins, what he did the other night, went off for he had 40 raw points, 66 piece. They're going to let Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins just dominate this G League Bucks team tonight. So I don't think Shea is going to have to actually do much. I would rather have Cade Cunningham over him. So Cade Cunningham, definitely an early spend up piece I'm going to be looking at with my Jokic lineups tonight.
Oh gosh, the chat has me dying. Tony,
Now I'm gonna catch up on
you
chat.
gotta catch. It's been a lot. It doesn't.
I wasn't
That's
reading
a
that. I
lot
didn't
to
want to
soak
laugh.
in. I mean, they
You're gonna have to
got it
scroll
going.
up. I'm being honest. The chat's on fire right now. I can't. Oh, Tony, talk about Kongwu and the Atlanta Hawks and the Detroit Pistons.
Is Okongwu still getting 40, 48 or whatever he was going to get the last time we did a show?
No, he got. I'll say he got 30, but it was a bad slate, so it wasn't the worst play. But
Oh my God, you're coming in defending the 30. I can't believe you're defending.
It was a rough slate. Actually, it was one of those. It probably was one of those slates where you had to. Actually, no, it was Thursday. Yeah, if you backloaded, you just absolutely smashed. So if you were backloaded,
it was like a 2-2 slate, right? And the first two games were terrible.
Yeah, if you did the super backload, you just absolutely owned because
I had Dalton Connect too, and he got the best game script ever, and he was awful. So you're allowed to.
I played him too.
Back.
No,
that was so painful against the Wizards too, right?
Script too, like the perfect script, and he was terrible. So you're allowed to make fun of me back. I'm not defending him; he was horrible. But so the Hawks, Trae Young's going to be a little mad about everything that happened. He's been bad, though. I'm not like a full Trae Young hater like Rubio is and some other guys. I think he's all right, but I didn't think he should be an all-star over those guys in it. He's been bad. And watching those guys like Barkley and stuff defend it and act like he's been crushed, and I just don't see it. But this is a slate where you're going to have to consider guys like this. And it's a slate that you can more than likely fit Trae, Cunningham, and Jokic, right? I mean, what salary does that leave you with? Trae, Yoke, and Cunningham. Leaves you with 35-40, which sounds crazy, but you can easily manage that with the value on this slate. So whenever we have big-time value, one of the ways I like to attack it is stack the guards in a game like this where I don't see a ton of defense in this game. I do worry a little bit about how bad Trae's been, but he's got upside. There's no doubt about that, especially it's against a team like Detroit. The rest of the team, though, I mean, you're not going to the mid-range, and a lot of these plays from Atlanta are mid-range plays. I don't see how you could really go to – I mean, you can play like DeAndre Hunter, guys like this, Reese Shea. You can play them, but I just don't think it's the slate for it, at least for me, because even though Milwaukee's in a bad – real life spot, these guys are just too cheap not to play. So I want to get there. And then the Pistons side, more of the same. I mean, you got these mid-range guys that I'm just not going to get to. So I know it sounds simple, but it's just Trae and Cade Cunningham for me in this game. And I think they're good plays, though.
Yeah, Trae Young is available. So there you go. We just got that news.
Why is old Isaiah Stewart $3K? Is he just like
Probably because he got suspended and they maybe jacked the price up because of it. That would be my guess because of that suspension stuff.
I guess he's been somewhat bad, but $3K is pretty crazy for him.
Oh yeah.
There's so much value on the slate.
So much.
Yeah.
I mean, just doing the heat map right now. This is a ridiculous slate. Like, I don't think you definitely can't play like speculate on a 3K Isaiah Stewart. Like in that early window. I think that would be a disaster.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Also, Kevin, the good news is if I am using a bucket, I don't have to go to the bathroom either. It's multi-purpose. So there you go. You can use it for all aspects of life. But let's get to Houston and the Knicks. Karl Anthony Towns, 9.6K. Alfred Şengün, he is questionable. If Şengün misses, we know that's going to open up the door for Steven Adams' value at 4.3K. He's been pretty good in the two games he played. He played 23 and 25 minutes with Şengün out. So that's important to note. Played pretty good for 4.3K, but it is a slate with a lot of really good value. Of course, that would open up the door for Tari Eason, maybe to get a little bit more run, 5.4K. Of course, they're missing Fred VanVleet as well. That's going to help the usage of who? Jalen Green, right? Jalen Green and Amen Thompson are in really, really nice spots. Amen Thompson at 8.3K. He's definitely a guy that feels overpriced, but with no Fred VanVleet, you can make a case for him, and same with Jalen Green. I prefer Jalen Green if I had to pick one. And then, of course, Nick's side of the ball, Josh Hart's been questionable. I'm not super worried about him, but OG Anunoby, he is out now. With OG out, that will open up the door for some more opportunities for these guys on the Knicks. AP, I'll go over to you. talk about what you're doing with this Şengün news and how you're handling OG out going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think this game is really interesting for a few reasons. Two teams that run some of the tightest rotations that we see, especially like, I mean, we all know the Knicks, like Thibs just runs these guys into the ground, and it's going to be the case again tonight. I mean, you're going to have Deuce McBride off the bench, having an expanded role, probably Precious sliding into the starting lineup alongside Towns, Hart, Bridges, and Brunson. Obviously not confirmed, but that's what I'm showing as the projected. But yeah, like none of these guys on either side are projecting to get a lot of ownership. And what I like to do, just because we have that minutes certainty, I don't think price is going to really matter on the slate because we have so much value. Like paying a little bit more for a Josh Hart at 7,700. I don't like, the dude has been awesome. He's shown a ton of upside. He has a 67 against the Lakers, 68 against the Kings, 60 against Philly, all within the last 7 games. Now he has a floor too. So like what I've been doing with the Knicks is I've been capping them to like 2 max. And I'm going to do the same tonight because they're all kind of priced up. Usually you see 1 or 2 go off, but not all of them. Like it's either a Jalen Brunson night or a Mikal Bridges or a Karl Anthony Towns, who's been a little bit colder. So that's how I'm going to play the Knicks, but I definitely want some exposure because we know we're going to get such a tight rotation. And I don't think like price is really going to matter on the slate with all the value that we have. And then the same case with Amen Thompson. He's not getting a lot of ownership right now. At least I'm not showing a lot. And it kind of just blows my mind. The guy's been an absolute machine. He's going to play 40 minutes tonight. Jalen Green as well in the Garden. Fred VanVleet already ruled out. If Şengün gets ruled out also, like Steven Adams has looked really good, he's going to have to play heavy minutes because they are very weak with centers. So I think that's obviously news that we got to sit and wait for. But I honestly don't see like how we're not considering Jalen Green and especially Amen Thompson and then at least one piece from the Knicks side. And I'm showing like little to no ownership on this game at all. So it's definitely going to be one that I want a couple pieces from.
Yeah, I can understand wanting to get a couple pieces from this game, but it's not one to load up on, obviously.
I mean, man, go like, are you? I'm not as good with ownership, but like I'm showing like sub 5% on Amen Thompson and Jalen Green. Is that like right? Like I don't get how that's correct on this slate with all the value that we have.
It's probably wrong just because we're going to have so much value overall that I think for the most part, like for instance, if you think Jokic is 20%, he's probably 25 to 30, right? Like I think all of the stud ownerships probably need to all be raised and all the cheap ones need to be raised as well. I think Jalen will be higher owned than Amen. I'll say that just because I think the $1,000 difference. When you look at Amen, you compare to all the others, like guys in the 8K range, I think people will gravitate towards other options. So, but they're still going to be low owned, right? Overall, like, because people are just going to go to stars and scrubs build, right? They're going to grab Jokic, they're going to grab Wemby, SGA, all these studs, and kind of go from there. So I think that's one of the issues on stars and scrubs slates. So, but overall, they'll be below probably 10%. I don't think they'll be 3 and 2% like SaberSim. I think they'll be like 8 and like 7%, or like maybe 8 and 10%. So, all right. Let's get to Tony. Talk about the Knicks and the Rockets. This is a 7:30 game, so it is on an island where we have all these other games that start later. So talk about it to me, Tony.
Yeah, first of all, like stuff like this where people keep always saying stuff like this. What would Denver give up to get Luka? Like they wouldn't give up everything because Luka and Jokic don't jive that well. Like it wouldn't make Denver that much better if they gave up all those other good guys they got. Jokic needs the ball, like, and Luka needs the ball. There's some guys that can play with other studs. One of them would have to take a back seat, though, and both of these guys would be terrible without having the ball in their hands. Like, don't get me wrong, they'd still be good, but you wouldn't be a better team. And then the other comment that while you guys were going, if Sabonis outscores Jokic, well, shit, if Mangone gets more tail than me, then that'd be a different path too, but I don't know if that's going to happen, Stack and Relax. I mean, sometimes you gotta stick with Old Faithful on there. But I agree with you guys on this game. It's just more of the same. The way the slate sets up, there's not going to be a ton of options in these games besides the studs. But Amen Thompson was like full crushing for a couple weeks. And now he cooled off a little bit. The last few times I've played him, he's really struggled. But you're going to get low ownership, and it's just these projections are why.
Tony, there's no Van Vliet this time too to call out.
I know, but it's still Amen Thompson's not like one of those guys that that strikes me as someone that gets that significant of a boost. Just because Fred Van Vliet's more of a passer, anyways, it helps Amen Thompson in a way. I'm not saying it shouldn't go up at all. But like the projection, when you're 8,300 and you're projected under 40, Şengün, when you're 9K and you're projected under 40, Jalen Green, that's why I agree with you. Like Jalen Green's got to come up just because he's projected similarly for 1,000 and 1,600 cheaper than the other two. And he's got upside. I mean, he can get hot against a team like the Knicks. He also strikes me as a guy that would like to play at the Garden a little bit, put on a show. I could see that. So he's where I'm at there. And then the Knicks side, I mean, you can always go to these guys just because of the minutes. Like Cat is another stud. I actually really like Cat on the slate. We're going to have to rank the studs when we get to the end just because of how important it is on this slate. But Cat against Houston, I like it more actually if Şengün's in there just because I like how Cat matches up against guys like that. He's always played Jokic somewhat tough because he can take him to the perimeter too. Same with Şengün. Jalen Brunson's not like my preferred option, but he's going to play a ton of minutes. And just projection-wise, I mean, he's similar price to those Houston guys and projected 5-6 more points. So I think I'd rather take the Knicks side for sure. And then the mid-range guys, I'm just not going to go to. So it's more of the same. I know it's boring. That's why I'm congregating with the chat, but studs, and that's it really for me in this game. I guess Jalen's not a stud. I like Jalen though.
Don't forget, I gotta say this just so I remember myself, but like you made me think of something. There was a slate not long ago. It was a Jokic slate where he went off, but it was like a slate that was like so loaded with centers, and there was another center. It had to be like Sabonis, like a Sabonis-like type of centers, and it was either Sabonis or Cat actually, and the like nut path was double spinning up at center, and it made me think of it because you could do that. You could go Towns, Jokic, and then if you look at all the value on the slate, it's all at the forward and guard position. So like, definitely don't forget about the Karl Anthony Towns and Jokic build pass. Definitely interesting on the slate.
You certainly can. And I agree, Tony. I'm probably Jalen Green is my favorite guy in that game if I had to pick one. Let's get to the Kings and the Minnesota Timberwolves, which obviously there is some value opened up on the Kings. Now that we have no De'Aaron Fox there, it's going to help who? Keon Ellis likely slides into the starting lineup with Malik Monk there at the guards. You got DeMar DeRozan there. You know, Zach LaVine's not playing today, so you're not worried about him taking any run, at least for tonight. And then, of course, you got Sabonis, but Sabonis going up against a tough matchup at 9.8K. And, of course, I'd rather go with Jokic over Sabonis. I know they're not the same price, but that's just how I am. Rather do that. And then Ann Edwards, we do not have the news on him. If he is out, that's going to open up even more value that we don't need on this slate, but it will open up more value for sure. Keep in mind, Julius Randle, he is already out, right? Julius is out. We had and Julius sit last game. We haven't really seen it with just Julius out, so that's going to open up some opportunities for some other options, right? Going to open it up for Mike Conley, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and Rob Dillingham. All three of those guys, someone's going to like take the job basically. I assume it's going to be Dillingham who's going to like kind of slide in and take a lot of that usage, especially running that second team with Dante DiVincenzo out. And then also we have Naz Reid at 6K, who I don't think he's the worst play. I think the only problem with Naz Reid at 6K on this slate is it feels like you're buying a little high on someone like Naz Reid on a slate where we already have infinite value and it's a stars and scrubs kind of slate. But AP, I'll go to you first to talk about this one. The Kings and the Timberwolves, what plays are you looking at here?
Yeah, the Wizards actually got a win against the Timberwolves. Obviously, the Wolves, Anthony Edwards was out and Randall was out, and then Naz Reid got hurt, tilted everyone. And it was Jay McDaniels who, I mean, he went off, but like he was trying to carry the team and obviously not necessarily ready to do that yet. I thought he played really well, though. and not as well. I think Ant Edwards is going to be back tonight. I think he's going to make for an awesome spend up too. And so this is why I struggle to lock in Cade, because I think Ant Edwards for 1,000 cheaper can kind of produce a similar score, if not a little higher than Cade. And I want to make sure that I save a spot for that. And so Anthony Edwards, 9,500. I think he plays, and I think he smashes in this matchup against the Kings tonight. Keon Ellis on the other side, going to be a popular value play. My problem with him, more of a defensive guy. I think Malik Monk's just going to chuck. And DeMar DeRozan, I don't know about you guys, but he's having a rough year. I don't know if I wanted to fall into that trap. So he's not someone that I'm rushing to jam into my lineups. It's a tough matchup for Sabonis, but I think he would be the guy that again, centers loaded. The stud centers are loaded. Love Jokic. Towns, I think, is very much in play. And I also think Sabonis is in play too. So 9,800, tough matchup. Gobert's been really good against opposing centers, but man, Sabonis is definitely a guy that could get there, even a tough matchup. And I'm curious to see where Naz Reid falls. He was 80% owned on the slate, if not higher, in higher dollar contests. And this is a good matchup because Sabonis is so good at getting opposing centers into foul trouble. If Gobert gets into foul trouble, it's just going to open up everything for Naz Reid. And it's been a good matchup for stretch fours, kind of like Naz Reid. So I have a little bit of interest. The other thing about Naz, too, is you have the positional flexibility. You can play him at the power forward spot. $6K, fair price tag. I think people are going to be hesitant after he went out last game with an injury, but he made shoot around today. I'm not too concerned about it. So for me, it's Ant Edwards. I think he plays. I have a little interest in Naz Reid and then Malik Monk on the Kings side. I think he's just going to chuck.
Yeah, I am hoping Ant Edwards plays. Also, to your DeRozan point, AP, he's kind of like Kyle Kuzma, where you know the ceiling game could happen, but you're more than likely to get a 20-point fantasy game, and it's going to be a miserable experience. So I'll go to you, Big T. I would assume this is probably one of the games you're going to be very low on, but maybe I'm wrong. What's your thoughts here on Kings and Timberwolves? Kings and Timberwolves.
Yeah, as far as the Sacramento side actually the Minnesota side first. Ant, if he's in, has to be one of the better plays of the slate. I mean, it's a great matchup. You lose Fox. You just don't have anything in there for Sacramento. They already didn't play any good defense. You just don't have any resistance. And one of the guys that I think sneaky in the mid-range, but again, I doubt I get to much mid-range, is Jaden McDaniels, though, in this spot. I could see him. He's had a few monster games, and I can see this matchup being good against a team like Sacramento. If Ant was somehow out, I definitely think you could go to a Dillingham or something, but I don't love the rest of these guys. I never play Naz Reid. I get it. I just don't. I just hate when they freaking have these. I hate teams that have multiple bigs. It's my nemesis for sure. I don't love the flow of the offense and stuff. But the Sacramento side's a side I like a lot. You got to like Sabonis always. I think the matchup's better than people think. Monk is going to absolutely chuck with Fox out of town. He's going to be the whole offense. DeRozan, part of the problem with Sacramento to start the year is they bring in a guy like DeRozan. That is just bad decision-making. It doesn't make any sense. You bring in a mid-range guy that just totally kills your offense, takes up shots. In the downside of his career, he's old. He hasn't been good for the Bulls. Why would you bring him in? It doesn't make any sense. It's what losing franchises do. So he does look cheap tonight. I'll say that. He's in the mid-range. He's the guy that I think gets steamed for sure just because of his projection. And he's a guy that I just can't imagine playing. Granted, I don't play 150 in NBA. I would not fade him if I was playing 150. I want to be clear about that. I would have him in my player pool for sure. But he is not a guy that I'm playing on my team or my three teams. It's just not happening. So not there. Keegan Murray, I think, gets a decent boost with Fox out of town too, just because you need scoring. You got Sabonis in the middle, and you got Monk and DeRozan, but you still need Keegan from outside. Monk is still more of a drive mid-range type guy. DeRozan's obviously a mid-range guy. So I think Keegan Murray might be my favorite Kings guy. And he's a little cheaper where He fits some of those stud builds rather than the other two that are mid-range guys. Keon Ellis, he's more of a defensive guy, and he's high owned. His price is very cheap, though. So I have a hard time not getting a decent amount of him at 3,500. And the guy that I think sneaky, though, just because I know how talented he is Devin Carter, old Anthony Carter's son. He was a beast at Providence. I think he played. He's just a basketball player, and they need – I'm looking at the roster. Besides those starters who I think play a ton of minutes, they don't have much. They got Trey Lyles off the bench for a big, and then they got Carter off the bench for a guard. So I think Devin Carter at 3K, Stone Man, like you said, Keon Ellis is a defender. If this game gets going a little bit and they need scoring, I think they could go to Devin Carter a decent amount. I think he's one of the sneakiest plays of the slate. I mean, SaberSim has him at 1% owned, which I think will be higher than that for sure because his projection's 18 for 3K or something. Oh, that's probably why he's 1%. Sabres only got him at 13, but I got him much higher than that. So I think Devin Carter is very, very sneaky.
I think it's the wrong slate and maybe future slates. But
it could be the wrong because there's unlimited value. I don't disagree with that at all. And they're going to play their starters like a ton of minutes. I don't disagree with that.
I like your thought process for like we're getting into March and like I know we're just starting February, but
Devin Carter will win money for people this year. Mark my words about that.
I agree. Yes, at some point he's going to.
You're probably right about the slate. I do agree with that, unless someone like gets in foul trouble or something.
Yeah. When you said to me Keegan Murray was like your favorite guy in this game, it made me even say to myself, this game really sucks. You know what I mean? Compared to the other ones in the slate, right?
The good thing is there's a decent amount of mid-range in there. So
there was an interesting game. It was against the Warriors back in January where Fox was out. You got Keon Ellis starting alongside Malik Monk, Sabonis, DeRozan, and Murray. The game blew out. The Kings destroyed them, but it was Devin Carter who, he got that second unit run, and then he obviously got all the blowout minutes too, but he was chucking like 30% usage rate. So, again,
he's a hooper, man. He is a hooper.
Probably the wrong slate, but again, weird things happen. He's a flat 3K. There's definitely worse values.
If it somehow blows out, like you're going to win a lot of money from him because he's going to crush.
You got a believer, Tony. Big Ed, he's on board.
Let's go, Big Ed.
Big Ed's
Shake went. The problem was Shake got there because my Dalton Connect didn't get there, but Shake did crush that slate.
And you know who also sucked in this slate and he got the most minutes against the Warriors? It was DeRozan. No Fox.
Bad.
He failed to put up 15 DraftKings points, and he led the team in minutes. And God, he's having a tough. I can't click on DeRozan.
I just truly don't understand what made them sign him with their roster the way it is.
Yeah,
Tony, it makes no sense.
Tony,
what do you guys think Malik Monk did on this slate without looking, or that Warriors game? Because it's going to be an exact same rotation. It's the exact same situation.
He probably dropped 50 like he does every day.
He almost got a 60 piece.
Yeah. Monk has been awesome. I don't think Monk's a bad play for sure. He's been awesome, so I get it. He's just been.
The problem is Golden State is. You said Golden State, right?
Yeah, they also suck. It was in
and
January.
They don't like defend the same way. Like McDaniels is a beast defender.
If McDaniels is chasing him around, which he probably
Who else is he going to guard? DeRozan, I guess. DeRozan sucks, though.
I think you put him on Monk. I don't think
he might guard DeRozan. I mean, coaches do weird stuff. Whoever he's on is going to not do good, though. The other one might crush, so I don't know.
Tony, here's a good example with DeRozan. If you traded him for like Malik Beasley, right? Like the Kings would have been infinitely better having like a 3-and-D.
Yeah.
And you know what? The Pistons would probably be ass if they had DeMar.
They would be worse. I guarantee they would be worse. They would be.
Yeah.
I would puke if the Nuggets traded like anybody for DeRozan. I would hate it.
Because DeRozan would be stunting the growth of Cade Cunningham, right? And that's why having someone like Malik Beasley next to him is 10 times better. Like it's
DeRozan, I just don't get it. I just literally don't get it. I don't. Yeah. So Corey Holt says, could you play Ellis and Carter? You can always play cheap guys together. At least in my opinion, you can always play cheap guys together. There's multiple ways to get there. They're cheap. Do they correlate perfectly? Probably not, because they go work against each other a little bit. But they're both cheap. I mean, they're so cheap. You can't go that wrong playing two cheapies like that.
I think on most slates, given the situation, you could, but on this slate, you're not going to be able to do that because, like, Ryan Rollins, he's what, a flat 3K. Like,
I mean, he's a lock. Like, he's just a stone lock. So I mean, you're not fading him no matter what.
Yeah. So we're getting to that game now. Giannis out, Lillard out, Portis doubtful, Lopez questionable. I'm operating under Portis being out, and then even if Lopez plays, I'm not like super worried about him. I doubt he's going to go out there and play like 38 minutes or something crazy, but
no chance. Yeah.
So that leaves us to trying to decipher all these other plays, and honestly, it's Taurean Prince probably starts, Gary Trent Jr. If Brook Lopez is in, he'll obviously play the center. So you'd have Prince at the 4, Trent at the 3. You'd have Rollins at the 1, and then at the 2, you'd have AJ Green or Andre Jackson, one or the other. So, yeah, you're going to want to like these guys. If you look at the pricing, every single play is $4,200 or less, unless you're talking about Lopez and Portis. So, Tony, I didn't ask them to come over. They said to me, you guys want to do anything tonight? And no one had any idea.
You guys laid on the floor and watched a movie.
Yeah, they want. I said, if you want to come over, you can. I said, this is a terrible idea, but you can come. I'm literally sitting here laying down watching TV. So, but
did you lay on your back or like forward on your stomach?
No, I laid on my side.
On the side. So were you making eye contact with someone else, or was it back?
I had my outside my computer out, and I was sweating the games too. So I was doing both. I had both going
on. Multitasking.
Yeah, you got to keep track of the NBA, of course. But we're gonna like Milwaukee. We should talk a little OKC. SGA and Hartenstein. Those are going to be two key pieces that are in. Jalen Williams, he is out for this game, along with Kaysen Wallace and Alex Caruso. We got Dort, Wiggins, Isaiah Joe. I don't know if you guys saw the other day. I almost fell off the floor when I saw it, even though I was on the floor. Aaron Wiggins, 41 real-life points was one of the craziest things I think I've ever seen. And then someone else told me in the chat, I was in Discord, they said, that's not even the craziest part of the stat line. The dude had 14 rebounds. So I don't know what Aaron Wiggins is up to, but he is going absolutely insane. He's 5.3K. He's someone to consider. Isaiah Joe, 4.2. Another option to consider. And another thing to mention with this OKC side of the ball, too, all of these cheap guys like Dort, Joe, Kenrich Williams, all these different guys, these guys are definitely going to probably get the closeout run over an SGA and a Hartenstein where you'll get a lot more run. And the chat's got me dying. It's hard to concentrate. So, AP, I'm going to throw it to you. Talking about the Milwaukee situation, we do not have starters, but sounds like you like Ryan Rollins and some of these other options.
Donkey muted myself. OKC, I mean, they're just a beast. They absolutely dismantled a fully healthy Kings team. I mean, it was a joke. Like, you got Aaron Wiggins just dropping. I mean, he played 40 minutes, like dropped 41 real points. Absolutely insane. They let him close alongside Jalen, the other Jalen Williams, Dang, Flagler, and Dukas. And so, yeah, I mean, whoever's cooking, it might be Joe this time. Like, who knows? Like, that's how OKC is. It's probably one of Wiggins or Joe. Lou Dort also had a really good game. But again, like, his leash, if this game gets out of hand, is going to be a little bit tighter. And same with SGA. But again, if the Bucks somehow keep this game close, which I don't think they will be able to, OKC just has this way of just elevating everyone else that's playing. And that's why you saw Aaron Wiggins go off. And he could bust tonight too. And it could be Isaiah Joe, or it could be Kenrich Williams, or, one of these other random dudes. But I really like Isaiah Joe. I'm fine going back to Aaron Wiggins. They'll probably feed him. If the game stays close, maybe it's SGA putting up like a 70 piece. So, again, I don't think fading him, worrying about blowout, is necessarily the smart move, especially on a slate with infinite value. And it just could be one of those days where maybe like the secondary pieces are having an off night. Maybe SGA does need to take over. And if you eliminate him from your pool, then, obviously you're going to miss out on a monster day potentially from him. So definitely want pieces from the Thunder side. I definitely worry about the game blowing out. But again, I guess SGA is fine. He's right in that bucket with Cade and, Ant Edwards and kind of the spend up guard position. And then the Bucks side, I mean, Ryan Rollins, you got to think if he starts, he's like probably close to a lock. I have a lot of fear that maybe they like come in and start DeLon Wright or something. I'm pretty sure we've seen this scenario where they've done that. I don't have the game up to where we've seen this before, but if that happens, I'm going to be a little bit fearful of the spot with Ryan Rollins. I think AJ Green, he's going to have a nice rotation either way, and at least he's a shooter. So I have a ton of interest in him, 3,300. Andre Jackson, not a shooter. Taurean Prince thinks he's a shooter. 4,200 though. He's got to be fine. The one thing is be cautious with Gary Trent Jr. His role has not changed very much in these spots too. It's not like he comes in, starts, and plays a monster role. He's still coming off the bench typically and playing that second unit role. And they still have Pat Conn, who we haven't seen much of. I don't know. I think right now, if Ryan Rollins starts, he's like a lock. If he doesn't, I definitely have a little bit of concerns around him. But obviously the Bucks are going to be a great team for value tonight.
Yeah, we also got Pat Connaughton, Tyler Smith, DeLon Wright, Marjon Beauchamp, even AJ Johnson, Chris Livingston. They got this guy Stanley Umedo, or however you say his name. A lot of different options they can slide in there. Starting lineup is going to be key. When we get the starting lineup, we'll feel confident in those guys, and we will make our adjustments. So, Big T, talk about this game, but also talk about Trevor Bryan wants to know about the Up the Lock show. And we've talked about how we're probably not doing Up the Lock shows. We're doing this show at this time slot, but talk about that.
Yeah, we just weren't there just wasn't viewers for it. It wasn't worth the time, and we can just get more done here and then get to the Discord where we update the news, update the content, stuff like that. So doesn't mean we won't ever go back to it, but for right now, this just works better. And we've got a bunch of good feedback from it too, where everyone can kind of hear the takes and then move over to Discord, Twitter, stuff like that to get the updates. But we're open to any suggestions. So anything people want, we can try to do. It seems like it's been a good response though. The viewers have gone up a little bit for this show and stuff like that. But I think this game's awesome, actually, and I think it's going to be a close game. I've seen this happen so many times. It looks like it. OKC's tough. Wiggins coming off the monster game. I think Shea is the best play of the slate, and it's because of his ownership. Every time all the chalk's on one side, I always try to choose the other side, and it always – not always, but it hits the nuts more times than people realize, where everyone plays the Bucks and then they don't play Shea because of the blowout. And Hartenstein too. I think Hartenstein is very sneaky too in this game because they correlate very well, where you could even play like a Luka, Shea, Hartenstein with whoever starts for the Bucks type build, where that just correlates so freaking well. And I'm not going to play the old guys for the Bucks probably if they start. I'm not going to play Prince. I'm not going to play Lopez, but all these young guys are in play. Andre Jackson, Tyler Smith, even DeLon Wright, even though he's not a young guy, if he was to start, you just got to wait for starters. And the good thing is they're all cheap, where you can plug some guys in, and if it gets different starters, you can flip and flop them pretty good, where it should match up. But I love this game. Shea's projection's huge, and his ownership is low. So that's a combo I like in tournaments. I love this game. I don't like Wiggins as much, and I don't like Isaiah Joe as much, but Shea and Hartenstein one way, whoever starts from Milwaukee the other way, and yeah, get it done. And they're talking about playback. Yeah, after the Super Bowl, when it's just NBA and golf and the other stuff, we will definitely be getting back into playback mode and watching some NBA 100% after this week.
All right, one more game in the 8 o'clock window. It's It's Spurs and it's the Memphis Grizzlies. Of course, Wemby questionable. Ja Morant, we're waiting on him. He's questionable as well. And if we get news that these guys are out, we can make adjustments. We're going to have a lot of roster spots open, so keep that in mind. For me, I kind of want these guys to play because I don't want to add just more value on this slate. It just gets super chaotic, especially with Memphis. Memphis, they're still going to play 9 to 10 deep. It's not like it's going to benefit that much with just a couple of these guys missing. Yes, it'll help with Jaren Jackson Jr., of course. We do have Desmond Bane, who is already out. That obviously get bumps to some other wing options. Maybe a Luke Kennard will get some more shots up. And then, of course, on the Spurs side of the ball, you can make the case. I know Chris Paul was someone that was popping at 5.7K, especially if Wemby misses, right? A Vassell would pop up. Then you'd have, I guess it'd be Chris Bassey since Zach Collins got traded to the Bulls. But yeah, or not Chris Bassey, Charles Bassey. So he would be an interesting value that would probably start then. So a lot could go on in this game, AP, but we don't have the news. But how are you kind of attacking this game without knowing what's going on?
Yeah, so I think Ja plays. Bane already got ruled out. I think like Memphis wants this, Ja versus Wemby 2.0. Then he's got a poster on him already, right? I mean, that was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't know if that was the one that got taken back or whatever, but yeah, he had a nasty dunk.
I mean, either way, it was absolutely ridiculous, and that was in San Antonio. But yeah, so I think Ja plays tonight, and the Grizzlies, like, this rotation is just brutal. Like, it is absolutely tough. You have Santi Aldama, comes off the bench, plays good minutes. Brandon Clark, LaRavia, like, they're just deep. Gigi Jackson's back too. So Jenkins, notorious for just going deep into the rotation. I can't really justify playing anyone. Like Jaren Jackson, I think he's fine if he's like a last man in and you have all the value that you want. You got the other pieces, the Jokic's or whatever, and you got 8,300 left. Like, if you click him, I think it's probably fine. Luke Kennard's had a really nice role. But again, they're kind of showcasing him when Ja is out. They got the ball in his hands. Ja's going to be back. So obviously the ball is going to be in Ja's hands. So that kind of is a hit to Luke Kennard a little bit for me. And we have so many other awesome value plays. So I'm probably under or fading the Grizzlies side. The Wemby situation is interesting because, yeah, Zach Collins is obviously gone. Keldon Johnson, I always like when Wemby's out. He just has a much better role. Shohan would be a better play. You would have Charles Bassey, who would become a really strong play. And then, like, Devin Vassell, obviously a lot more scoring opportunity. Like, Wemby just does so much. When he's out, it elevates everyone else on this team. And now you have other pieces that are gone too. So this is where you could get rewarded. And the total is over 240 points. So, like, the opportunity is going to be there. I hope Wemby plays to make it easier on me with kids activities later tonight. Always makes it tough. But again, we'll wait and see. We should get that news. It's 8 Eastern window. So we should have it by the time the Knicks game locks. And yeah, that could obviously change the slate though. But if Wemby plays, I put him in that elite, a nice pivot off of Jokic. But I can't play Wemby over Jokic in the matchup that Jokic has tonight. But I do think if you're multi-entering that he's definitely in play. I mean, the guy is an absolute monster when he's in and when he's healthy.
All right, Big T, talk about Memphis and San Antonio.
Yeah, obviously we got to wait on the news. The Memphis side's been annoying to me all year. I just feel like every time I go in on something on this team, doesn't work out. It's just been a tough team for me to get a read on. I don't love it. I mean, you can always play Jaren Jackson. He has upside, obviously. But the rest of the team, I hope Ja's in. I'll say that just because I don't want him to be out and a couple of these guys somehow pop off because I'm just not going to get much from there. I'll be honest. Like, there's just not going to be much. So I'm not there. And then the Spurs, I obviously want to play Wemby. I hope he's in. I'll play him if he's in. And the rest of the team is a fade for me. So it's a pretty easy game. It's Wemby or nothing. Even if Wemby sits, I don't think I'll play any Spurs guys.
All right. No Spurs guys for Big T. Let's get to Indy and Utah, which not a game I'm dying to play. I mean, there are some plays that you can't hate, though. Like Pascal Siakam at 7.6K. I don't think he's a bad play at the forward position as like a tier 2, tier 3 stud, right? He's obviously not the Jokic's of those price tags, but at 7.6, I think he is in the conversation. Same with Halliburton. You could definitely make a case for him at 8.2K. And then the Utah side of the ball, I don't think I want to play roulette. They're healthy, right? Markkanen, Sexton, Kessler, Collins, George. They're just all back. I'm not dying to get too many options here. Curious to see what you're doing, AP. I'm assuming it's just mainly Pacers and then moving on to the next game.
What was your take at the start of the show, like on Miles Turner? Like, you think he's out tonight? Like, do you lean more doubtful than anything else, or it's just
yes, because all the reports are that if Miles Turner stays on the team, someone's going to pay him $30 million at the end of next year. And the Pacers don't want to pay $30 million. So you either use him for the playoff run and see what happens, or you ship him out of town and see what you can get for him, right? So I'm pretty confident they're going to get rid of him. And I just assume you sit him here in Utah, right, at Utah in a game you probably don't need him, and you wait for the trade deadline. Because if he hurts himself, then you lose the opportunity to get rid of him and try to get some assets. So I'm pretty confident Miles Turner's going to be at least someone that gets traded at the deadline.
It's just like I asked that because it's like such a good matchup for Pascal Siakam. Like the Jazz, these stretch four types just have absolutely smashed them. And same with Halliburton too. It's just trusting Carlisle in this rotation is very, very difficult to do. Like if we knew Halliburton and Siakam, if we knew Miles Turner was out, and if we knew Halliburton and Siakam were going to get 35 minutes each, they would be two of my favorite plays on the slate. It's the matchup. Like, look at the total, 242. We've hit a ton of Jazz overs. Because, like, Jazz, like, they have competent pieces to, like, get into these games that creates really high-scoring environments. The Jazz are super annoying to roster as well because they run a 10-man rotation. It's super annoying. They have tons of guards, starting Collier, Sexton, and then Keontae George, Clarkson will get their 25 to 27 minutes. It's literally like a 10-man deep rotation that's super frustrating. So we can ignore them tonight. But, man, I have a hard time ignoring the Pacers if we are right and Miles Turner is out. Like, if he's out, I think Siakam is a really good play. I think even like Obi Toppin isn't going to get a ton of run. But, again, it's the matchup. Like, he would be unowned, but he would be in play. Thomas Bryant's been pretty good, but I don't think we can get there, obviously, on this slate. If it was a smaller slate, you definitely could. So my interest lies in Siakam and then Tyrese Halliburton as well, mainly due to the matchup and assuming that Miles Turner is going to be out.
Yep, that's my assumption. Big T, what are you doing with Indiana and Utah in the Miles Turner news?
Yeah, I agree. We got to pay attention. I think Miles Turner sits, which means I think Thomas Bryant's at least somewhat in play at 3,200 behind him. I mean, if you knew Turner was out right now, you get a little bit of a hidden value guy because people aren't going to see that projection. Like right now, he's projected like 16. If he gets ruled out, I mean, that projection's got to go into the 20s, which at 3,200, that's a pretty sneaky value play, especially at center. I don't really want to do it at center personally, but you can flip the slate a lot by playing a Thomas Bryant. If he gets 30 or something at center for 3,200, you can really flip the slate. So I like that. I like Halliburton. I'm just not a Pascal guy. I do think it's a good matchup, though. I agree with that. I just don't play Pascal much. And then Utah, I'm not playing Utah, so I'll pass it back to you. I can't do the Utah thing.
Yeah. Let's get to the last game of the slate, Pelicans and Nuggets. Jokic, obviously going to be one of the best spends on this slate. You do have this Pelicans team. They are obviously banged up now with DeJounte Murray out for the season. They have Zion, Trey Murphy, and CJ McCollum. So that's kind of like their trio that they got. Jose Alvarado at 4.8. He'll pop up as a kind of an interesting value that you could get to. And then, of course, Denver side of the ball. I know this happened on the show. I don't think I had called it out. Aaron Gordon got moved to questionable. So that's another piece of news that if he happens to miss, I'm not saying I'm going to love the values that open up there, but stuff opens up, right? You can make the case that a Michael Porter Jr. or Christian Braun, maybe it just gives them a little bit more usage or just more minutes. And they just condense even deeper or not deeper, but just condensed tighter on their rotation for this just one game against the Pelicans. Jokic, though, 12.3K. You got Murray at 7.4 with Westbrook out. He obviously can break a slate. A lot of plays to like on both sides of the ball, especially if an Aaron Gordon misses AP. So what are you doing with the Aaron Gordon news and Nikola Jokic and the Pelicans?
Yeah, I'll lean on Big T with the Aaron Gordon news. I mean, I thought he was going to play because Peyton Watson already got ruled out. If he is out, though, it just kind of solidifies, like, one, the Nuggets. I mean, you got to win this game. I know the Pelicans haven't been good, but they, like, have the offensive firepower to, like, stay in games. And that's what makes their game so good, and a lot of it credit to Trey Murphy, who has been absolutely ridiculous. Like, this guy he's been incredible. And he took, like, that game with Boston. I turned that on, what was it, like Friday? I think it was Friday. What was the 31st? Had to be Friday night. But man, they should have beat Boston, and all due to Trey Murphy. He was ridiculous, and I love this matchup for him. And he's a piece I'm going to be looking at 7,800, massive price tag. But again, I like the matchup, and it gets even better if Aaron Gordon's out. Aaron Gordon is like the glue defensively for the Nuggets. I kind of see it when I do the flow chart. Like right now, over the last, over the short term with Aaron Gordon back, it's been a tough matchup for stretch forward types, and a lot of that credit to Aaron Gordon. But if he's out, I think it just makes the game that much better. I mean, Jokic is going to get whatever he wants against Misi. Misi is, while he's been decent for the role that he's in, obviously a very, very young player, Jokic is going to get whatever he wants. Like, this is a spot where I think Jokic puts up like 80 plus if the game stays close. So if the game stays close, you got to assume that a lot of that's going to be because of maybe Trey Murphy or CJ McCollum going off offensively, or Zion. Dude, Zion's, I know he doesn't get much minutes right now, but he's averaging almost 2 fantasy points a minute over his last 5 games. Like, I looked it up. It is absolutely ridiculous. A 40% true usage rate. I mean, what he's doing is absolutely insane. Like, to where I'm like almost considering playing him at 8,500, knowing that he's probably only going to get 28 minutes. I know it's a massive risk, but it's just the numbers are ridiculous. So I have a ton of interest in this game. I think Jose Alvarado starts 4,800. I think he's a fine play as well, but it's really like the Nuggets side. I think there are paths to where, like, Jokic elevates every single person that he plays with. We're going to see a tighter rotation with the guys that are out on with Peyton Watson out, Russell Westbrook out. I think Strother's going to be a nice piece off the bench, but it's Christian Brown who has been phenomenal. I think MPJ, mainly due to his price, 5,900. I think he can get there. And then obviously Aaron Gordon, if he plays, he's underpriced too. So I have a ton of interest in the Nuggets side. I have no problem playing like 2 or 3 of them and running it back with like a Trey Murphy. And I think it's going to be a really contrarian approach to the slate, because like a lot of other builds that people are going to land on, which are perfectly fine, but it's going to be like the true stud and value type of builds, because that's what is obviously available. And to where I think take your studs, overstack this game, and fill it out with some of the other elite pieces on the slate, I think is going to be a nice route in tournaments.
All right, Big T, you are the Nuggets guy. So talk about your Denver Nuggets and the Aaron Gordon situation and what you're doing with this game.
Yeah, this game, I agree with AP. This game is the nuts for sure. Like, even if Gordon's somehow in, which I don't think Gordon plays, I don't have any info or anything that states it, but the late downgrade with the early news out there, with him being a little bit banged up for the last couple months, I think he sits, and they don't need him. Like, they're at home, and like AP said, Jokic just makes these guys so much better that I know I talk down the mid-range, but man, Christian Brown at 5,200, if Aaron Gordon's out and Westbrook's out, I don't see how he doesn't nut. So like, I think he's like I think he's an incredible play, even if Gordon plays. So I think he's a great play. Porter Jr., obviously. And then the sneaky guy that isn't going to get, well, he might end up getting steamed just because later. But if we can sneak the news by that 8 o'clock window somehow, with all those Milwaukee guys go, Julian Strawther at 3,400 just has to be a really good play. Like, he's going to get open shots all night. Yeah, does he have to make shots? Yeah, he does. But he can. Jokic is going to put him in good spots. Their rotation is going to be short. They don't have that many guys. So you're going to give me a team with Jokic having the ball all night in a close game. They won't blow him out. It'll be a close game. It's like stealing. It's like a freebie. It's like if you want to win money, just play 3 nuggets. Jokic with 2 other nuggets. It's just a gift. And then I agree with AP too on the other side. Like Zion, it's frustrating the minutes. You feel bad locking a guy or playing a guy that has 29 minutes. It's annoying. But when he gets you 50-something again every game, he's going to crush. Who the Nuggets going to put on him? They don't have anyone. Who's going to guard Zion? They don't have anyone to guard him. So I think Zion crushes, and I think Trey Murphy crushes. So I think this game's the nuts. I love this game, and I love that it's the late game at 9 o'clock. Not I was going to say the only, but not the only, but still the 9 o'clock game that it's going to be lower owned than it should be. And now we get Şengün out and news like that. There's going to be more. The Nuggets are going to sneak through this slate, and they shouldn't. I mean, these guys are going to crush.
Yep, we did get Şengün out. The starters that we got for replacing VanVleet and Şengün, it's not Steven Adams, actually. They are starting Tari Eason and Jae'Sean Tate. So Jae'Sean Tate's starting for VanVleet, and Eason is starting for Şengün. So no Steven Adams is
no Steven Adams.
Yeah, I mean,
they did that in the second half last game over the weekend. I got it. He ended up. It was like so weird because I played Steven Adams. I stayed on him, so obviously I was like happy about his 10% ownership, and they bring him off the bench in the second half. Trying to see how many minutes he ended up playing. God, man, that makes Steven Adams a tougher play.
Yeah, he's definitely tougher for sure on this slate, but. All right, let's get to plays of the day. AP, I'll let you go first. Who do you got? Who is your play of the day?
I mean, these slates are always kind of tough. So many things change. Like the easy route is taking one of these studs or whatever, but oh man. I do like this spot for Jalen Green in the Garden, 7,300. I just can't see how he gets any ownership too. Like you're going to see a tight rotate. Like no one's going to play him. And man, he could absolutely smash here. Like look at we should probably fire on the over in this game. Like look, these Knicks games, I know someone in the chat mentioned, 2 good defensive teams. These Knicks games are insane. And a lot of it is because of how offensively efficient the Knicks have been. And I think that continues tonight. No OG, that's just another defender that the Knicks are going to be without. So I think this is a sneaky game that goes over, and I think Jalen Green in the Garden has himself a night.
No, I like the Jalen Green call. I think there's a lot of really good plays in that like 7K range that you can get to. So I think he's a good call. AP, I was going to say Jalen Green, but I'm going to go with a different 7K play. I like Trey Murphy. I know you liked him too. 7.8K, little late hammer, of course, for that late game. Again, I just think there's a lot of these 7K guys that have the ability to break the slate that, will just get overlooked overall because of the stars and scrub builds. And not that you can't play studs, right, with the cheapies, but you could play you can mix in a Jalen Green and a Trey Murphy with like a Jokic and then build a bunch of value. So there's a lot of ways you can go about it. Jamal Murray, who, Johnny Utah mentioned in the chat. Big T, I'll go to you, though. Who do you got? Who is your play of the day?
Yeah, it's going to be Christian Brown for sure. I think he gets 40+ at 5K. Easy 40+ too. He's going to crush. Like I said, and I'll even take it further. I think you need 3 or 4 nuggets is going to be the nuts. So Jokic being one of them. So I think that game crushes. That's my take. I love that it's the late game. I'm so happy that it's the late game because the ownership will be as low as it could possibly be.
All right.
Jokic isn't going to be low, but the rest are going to be low.
I absolutely love that take. Like I want to ignore so much of this early news just to jam in that game.
Especially the 7 o'clock window. Definitely the 7 o'clock window. And can I get the dodgeball gif when the Nuggets crush? Can you send me that on Twitter?
Yep. Yeah. We'll get it fired up.
That's the OG. We can't lose if that comes out.
All right, can we get AP? Can we get a ranking of the Houston players? I'd say Jalen Green probably 1 for you, and then how's it from there?
I mean, I still like Eamon Thompson just because, he's a lower usage guy. I think that has to go up. I think the rock's going to be in his hand a little bit more. We've seen that over the last few games, double-digit shot attempts. It's going to be the case tonight. Now, all the peripheral stats that he usually gets and relies on from a fantasy standpoint, with no Şengün, no Fred VanVleet, it just has to go up. So I think if I had to rank them, probably Eamon, I would add in the positional flexibility too. Then Jalen Green. Tari Easton's a beast too. I'd throw him in there. I mean, these guys are going to be low owned. I think it's a good route. I feel way more confident with Big T on the Nuggets game because we know, from a target tree standpoint, where the production is going to come from. We don't necessarily know that as clear on the Rockets side, but there's going to be a few guys smashing, and we're going to see a tight rotation. So all of these starters are in play. Even Dylan Brooks has shown some upside. I don't like Dylan Brooks, but he's actually been playing well above his head of late.
All right, Caleb does have a question. Can we get a stud ranking, Big T? I will say this. If you want the stud rankings every day, they're on the playbook, so you can always check that out over at Run Pure Sports. Use that code RPS15 for 15% off and check all that out. But, Big T, can we get a stud ranking from you for the top guys?
It's going to be boring, but Jokic is a lock for me. There's literally no way I'm not playing him. So that's 12-3, and Shea's my number 2, SGA. That's the contrarian. That's more contrarian than it sounds when I say it, though. He's not going to get ownership tonight. So I think SGA is my number 2. And then after that, a lot depends on Wemby. I want to ignore these 2 7:00 games. I talked about a few plays I wanted to play. I still think you can play Cade, Trey on a team. If I played them, I would play them together, honestly, because I want them to shoot out. So, but I don't love that game, but everyone's not going to love it. So there is something to be said for playing that. If I was playing multiple teams, I would definitely not be scared to do that. So, and then I don't know. A lot depends on the injuries with studs. That's why you got to be in the Run Pure Discord. Best thing we got. Hop in there, get the news, because Wemby and Ja are important news items for this slate with the way it lines up. So. The important part for my rankings are Jokic, SGA, 1, 2.
For sure. Final thing, Big T, who won the Royal Rumble? The people want to know.
There was 3 polls and there was a bunch of winners, so it's a lot of people won. I paid the first place ones. I still got to pay a few others, but
yeah, I saw you say JVC ran bad on Twitter.
JVC, this dude's on such a heater. He draws John Cena randomly. And then John Cena doesn't win somehow. Everybody thought Cena was going to win, and somehow he didn't. And that was the first bad beat he's taken all month.
No, Cena can't win because they want to push Uso like they push Cody Rhodes. You got to take time, Big T. You don't just become the title holder right away. Yeah. You got to earn it.
I liked it. I definitely liked seeing that happen. Even I don't follow wrestling, but I definitely because I thought Cena was a lock. So I love seeing him lose. It caught me off guard a little bit.
For sure. All right, that will wrap it up for us. We got to update our cores, right? We got to get those on the website for the members. We got to get all the slate builder up and everything like that. So we are going to get on out of here. Thanks a lot for joining us on the show. For me, Yangon, AP, and Big T. We'll see you guys later.